Hello, I'm R. Patrice Bryant, and I am the host of While We Wait. We are so glad you're here. Welcome, Facebook, YouTube, and my podcast listeners. We came today to talk about, well, this is the last Thursday of the month of February, and we're coming to talk about relationships again. So we want to talk about those wonderful, wacky workplace, marketplace relationships that have happened. However, things have changed a bit between when we were in the office and now that COVID has happened. So we want to have a good time and chat it up. Don't move. We'll be right back right here on While We Wait.
Wise. I live hands my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live hands my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live hands my life. While we wait.
Hey, hey, Michelle, how are you?
Well, hey, while we wait, community, collaborative, Facebook, YouTube, podcast, everybody, this is the
Everybody.
place to be. I am so excited to be here, and I just be bopping with that intro song. I love it.
Me too. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Kudos to PJ Lucky Jr. Woo, woo.
Shout out.
Oh my goodness. So, welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to have a wonderful conversation as usual. Please feel free to engage. Put your comments or questions in the chat. We'll be glad to bring it out so we can talk about it. Michelle, how was your day?
You know, every day above ground's a good day. That's gonna be my always answer. I've had
I
better,
hear
I've
you.
had worse, but I'm healthy, I'm warm. We have heat here in Texas while it's all icy and snowy outside, and life is good.
Life is good. You know what I always say. It's a wonderful day to be alive. Absolutely is.
And
You
how has
got
your
the
day been going?
Well, it was a great day. I've got a lot of transitioning happening for the good. It's been overwhelming, but for the good. So I'm really, really excited. Working to close a chapter and to go into a new chapter with my career. So I'm very, very, very excited. And it's really interesting that we would be talking about this today during this time. So um, it is just who I am. To close the chapter properly with employment, especially. I have to give a big shout out, and I'm certain his son will tell him. But my very first employer, Mr. Joseph Albert of Courtesy Drugs, well, that was just one of their stores out of New Haven, Connecticut. He really, really groomed me well. He had this, mouthy young lady, and I'm always so grateful. I think he's 95 now. I don't know if he's 95 or
Oh, wow.
96. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's in Florida now. He and his wife Bev. And I gotta tell you that I didn't even realize it then, but on this side, I'm so grateful because of the things that he deposited in me to the point that I was always able to find employment, get promoted, and kind of stay off the radar, especially when there was conflict, because things will happen. So I just wanted to put that out there. Mr. Albert, wherever you are in Florida, I love you.
That's so
Yes,
important how you leave an employment position, how you
absolutely.
enter, how you function in there, and how you leave. So I'm excited to talk about today because work
Yes.
relationships are really, sometimes, and I know for me, when I used to work in the office, I work from home now, but I would see people that I work with for 8, 9 hours a day, which is more than you
Yes.
see your family. And so those
Absolutely.
relationships really do influence your life and who you are and the quality of your day. So they're really
They
important.
absolutely do. They absolutely do. And I have a couple of work families that we still stay in touch. Maybe not every day, but they're my Facebook friends. Like I still have Mr. Albert's son from years ago. I think I was there when I was 16. I started when I was 16. And then I have
That was
another
just 10
another
years
work.
ago.
Yeah, I'll keep it. I'll keep it. I'll take it. But it really is important. And you know what? I've learned the most about myself
Mm.
when dealing with workplace conflict, I have to say. And I had to mature as well. I mean, of course, there were times when, during my very mouthy, I guess I still am, but I know how to bring it in. But there were times when I was younger that I didn't particularly handle situations well. But I have to say, well, this is funny, and God rest her soul wherever she is. I worked for Satan's sister at one point. No, I'm so serious. Yeah, that was a learning experience. That one was it. Actually, that really was. It was an interesting situation because of what I came into, what things that happened before I got there. So that was a totally different. Stop laughing, Sandra. That was a totally
Oh my
this,
goodness.
this woman had a lawsuit, and a part of her winning was immunity, so they couldn't touch her. She showed herself. That's all I want to say. And they couldn't touch her, and she did that because she said she was older, and she didn't want to have to. She thought it was she would have to suffer ageism, looking for another. And she was good at what she did, but oh, it was a crazy situation. What a learning experience. I actually had to get myself moved to another manager because that was totally different. Yeah, that was a totally different situation. However, I have another situation, and she's a now a work family type of person. She's on Facebook, and I don't know why, and sometimes you don't understand why a person treats you like they do. She actually gave me an assignment as a punishment, and it actually turned around and put me in a place of authority. And it got to the point where she would say, "All right, I'm leaving. Patrice is in charge." And I was like, "Hey, how did that happen?" And I would be, but I had to figure out. It was so funny. I have a book, and I forgot what it's called, but it's something about CEO. And in the book, it says that you should be the employee that, even if you're not the boss, be the employee that you would want. So I was reading that book, and I actually did that, and I was like, okay, 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 okay. But it was really, really rough. And it's amazing now that we actually are pretty tight. It's just, and then you don't know if people are dealing with things, you can misread situations, and they could be having
Yeah.
issues at home, or they might not feel good about themselves. And here you come along, happy, smiling all the time, and like, what's why are you
Or they
smiling?
can be crazy though. I mean, I've had experiences, especially here, moving here, where I was treated in a way I had never experienced in my life. I didn't learn what racism was till I got to Texas, but that's a whole nother story. And it's funny because after I left the position that brought me to Texas, the person who hired me and was in charge had a lawsuit against him and was forced out of his own company. And the person that took over actually tried to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I was like, well, that's weird because we didn't leave on great terms. I left with my integrity intact, and was perfectly happy to leave. But I was like, why not? And so I connected, which is really interesting because my thing is, and this is an old boyfriend taught me this. This is an old relationship that ended well. He said the best revenge is to do well. And I always took that because when you move on with your life and exceed and excel, no matter what happened to you before, what they tried to do, there's nothing they can say. And then oftentimes it comes back around and you turn into the CEO like you were talking about, or they have to come back and you're in a position where they need you. And then that's where the humility comes out. But you never know who you're dealing with and who you're working with. And so never burn a bridge.
Never, 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 never. And it's just so a part of me. And I keep saying, even with closing this chapter with where I am, and I'm like, why do I care so much? Like, why can't I just normally when people give their resignation, they just kind of wing it. Yeah, and I see stuff that still needs to be done, and I'm like, why? But it's who I am. It's not a bad thing. It's who I am. But it is so important because people are more connected than you can ever think for. And I have also seen situations where people burn bridges, and then they come back in contact with that person they burned the bridge with, and they come back in as a director or a higher up. So it's so important. And things are so different now.
Everything is interconnected, and your integrity matters. Your name is something that belongs to you and no one else. And I think it was Zig Ziglar who said something like, no, maybe it was Buffett. I forget who it was. it was an older white man who said this though. That I know. They said it takes decades to build a reputation and a moment to ruin it. And your
Yeah.
reputation can often open doors that, you know, years of experience cannot. And so it's your personal integrity, your name is so important to keep intact no matter what the situation is at the workplace.
You know, I was just thinking about different situations, like when we were. Now I know some people are going back, but just say before the pandemic, just a lot of different types of situations. You know, I can remember. So I'm in a nonprofit sector right now, but I was in corporate. I saw so much stuff. I mean, everything from, and it, like sometimes people wouldn't give you information just so you
On purpose.
yeah. And I'm like, you know, but that helped me because I stay on top of my game. Like, you know, like if you don't, you need to know. And if something comes up and you don't know, you need to look it up. You find out. Like, don't wait for somebody to throw you in the grave. Because
But you were coachable. Like you remained coachable and open. You were resourceful, and you also were able. I talk about reframing a lot. You were able to reframe something that could be construed as a negative into, well, this is an opportunity for me to be resourceful, to show my skill and my talent, and come out on top. And that's a choice you make in every situation, especially in the workplace, though.
Every situation. I mean, I saw the person doing it on purpose, and I was like, oh, okay, because there's always somebody else you can ask, or I mean, now we have Google, but there's always you can find out. You can find out. It can be interesting sometimes when the person that's training you doesn't want to teach you everything, but
set you up for failure. Whew.
Yeah,
I've experienced that. But you know what? You know, let me ask you this, because I know you've had a wonderful plethora of workplace experiences to draw from. But the emotional intelligence that you have to, and the emotional skill set that you develop when you're in the trenches, I'll call it. Share with us like a couple key points, like, you know, how do you deal with when you're aware that someone is setting you up for failure, or when you're aware someone is betraying you? Like, how do you handle that emotionally? Because you know, some personality types want to bite back.
Well, I in corporate, I saw a lot of cutthroat type situations. And I think in any situation, the first thing to do is to woosah and not go into straight emotions, because I was that temperamental person where, you know, I could go from 0 to 100 and minus 3 seconds, because I didn't like stupid stuff. I didn't, like, why are you doing this? This is wrong. But sometimes you just have to take a step back before you respond. And I saw it somewhere where they said, respond, don't react. So, and then sometimes you even have to practice your responses. If you're dealing with a person that is always working to find your triggers, or they push your buttons, you have to practice. And I've had to do this. I had to practice my responses, but I also had to figure out what is it that sets me off because of them, whatever it is. And I was able to think it through. And even if I didn't understand it, I'm like, you know what? This happens all the time. So I had to put myself in a place, or like hide my triggers. Like, even if it was burning me up, I went from reacting to, kind of smiling through it until I was able to work through it on the inside and really be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because is it Maya Angelou who said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them?
The first time, yes.
The first time. Yes, that's the thing. And you have to believe it. You're seeing the signs. You may not understand. And that's one of the biggest things I do. I'm like, I don't understand. But now I'm like, okay, why am I trying to figure it out? Like, okay, let me get me straight on the inside and keep it moving. Because you may never understand, because we don't know what places people are living from.
Or what their assignment was for you. Because certain people, I think, are assigned to come in to produce a situation for, number one, for you to become aware of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. For you to develop that emotional skill set and that responsibility, the ability to respond versus react. That came from Myron Golden. Shout out to him. But yeah, there's different purposes that situations and circumstances produce in you for different reasons. So I love that approach. Stop trying to figure out and understand why, and then just figure out, okay, what needs to happen next? what best version of me do I bring to this situation, and then just keep moving, keep walking. I love that.
Yeah, and another thing is like you've got to commit to yourself not to go outside of your character.
Ooh, that's a big one.
You have to commit to yourself. Like, you know what? You sometimes people set you up because they know they like I was an easy, you could take me there quick. They knew I was gonna go. They knew they could get me there. But you know what? I learned how to get over on the other side of that. I was like, okay, we can do better than this. I can commit to it. You know, why do I yeah, just why? You see who you're dealing with. So okay, that's who they are. Be who you are. So you really have to commit to
Exactly.
yourself. How am I going to deal with this? So again, like I said, until I could get all of my insides in sync with everything, I found a way to at least act the way of peace. Like, okay, sure, okay. You know, another thing I found out in corporate, which was cutthroat, a lot of times, I can think of a situation like right off the top of my head, but sometimes people would, it was just, I don't even know what you call it, but it was just totally cutthroat. They're having a conversation with you, and they're saying whatever it is. It's deceitful, and then they go
Mm.
back and say whatever. So your integrity goes across the board. Like if it's a conversation, like especially in the workplace, anywhere I know, but you just got to be mindful of your conversations. You
And
have to.
also to document. I know for me, when because I was in nonprofit and then I transitioned into corporate, and I found corporate very interesting to adjust to because it can be very hostile and cutthroat. And I, being the sociable person I am, they used to call me Big Bird because I would come in with a big old, I'm sort of high yellow, and they, I'm always like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on?" So that I was like the Big Bird, big smiley face, Walmart happy face. And so I did.
Oh,
But and so you develop these relationships, and sometimes they morph and they change, right?
yeah.
And you have to adapt to let people just be people. But when you do see someone who is actively being deceitful and betrayful, I don't know if that's a word, betraying you, and especially if they're in a position of power, because I had a supervisor who was, I mean, I learned so much in the 2 years that this person was my supervisor, and it was the most stressful time. My autoimmune condition actually surfaced because of the stress. Like it was just intense. And what's interesting though is that you have to let people be human and be who they are,
True.
and allow yourself to refocus and develop into the best version of yourself. But CYA was where I was going with this, is that
Always.
documentation as well is very important, and can save you and cover you when you're in a situation that could be detrimental. But if you document and you stay in your integrity and your character, so that people are like, well, Michelle doesn't really act like that. That's not what they're saying about her, can't be true because that's not my experience with her. And then you have the documentation that builds your case to help to support whatever the outcome that is coming for you. So relationships in the workplace are tricky because your finances are tied up in it, your livelihood, your reputation, your integrity, your character. Like it's a lot going on up in there.
And each culture of wherever you're working is so different. Like
Yes.
I worked for Prudential Relocation, and they started from two hippies, and this is when like the dress down Fridays first started when I was working there. And I remember they would walk around in their jeans and their like motorcycle leather jackets, but they were huge on family. They were huge on you learning other cultures, building you, grooming you, growing you in every aspect. So they really poured into their staff, and that made you work harder. Like I one of the things I remember is they were talking about. Oh my God, I don't remember if it was Japan. If you give someone from Japan, if someone from Japan gives you a business card, and you just take it and tuck it away, you have offended them. So we
Oh,
learned like different cultures, which was good because this company you had room to grow, and you don't know where you would have ended up. You traveled that whole thing. So they were very invested in you, which was a wonderful thing. But then I've also had I worked for a company out of Best Holland where they weren't into family. Like, it was one of those companies like, okay, you don't get sick, even though you got sick time. So
Don't do
every
it.
culture, yeah, every culture is different. Every culture is different, but things have changed, since we've been home. Some of us are like, half in, half home, half in the office. Um, but now there's like, it's a whole, it's still different. There's still you don't have that face-to-face conflict. You don't have to worry about somebody stealing your lunch, maybe. Um,
And also some of the friendships that were close. Like I used to have really close work relationships because you were in
mhm,
proximity. You saw them every day. You went to
right.
lunch. You shared, stories about home life and all the things, and you considered them friends.
Yeah.
And then when you work from home and you don't see them, you're not in proximity. There's no phone calls. You're not hanging out, quote
Right.
unquote. And it's like, oh, well, was that really a friend anyway? Or was that just an associate, of convenience because of the proximity of location? And so you
That's
really
true.
get to see what those relationships are really made of as well.
That's true. That's true. 'Cause I do have some colleagues from my previous place of employment who we do still text, and it's not like every day because everybody has their life, they're busy. But we definitely share. Oh, my son got married. Oh, I have a new grandbaby. So you share those life situations, which is wonderful. But yes, it could be convenience for some people. This is like and they're wonderful, but you do see the depth of it. Once there's that type of a separation.
Yeah, because I mean, I have people that I called them friend. Now, for me to say friend is a very heavy, weighty word for me, and I called them friend, and we would hang out. And I met their wives and their kids, and they met my husband and all the things. We would hang
Yep.
out, and then when we started working from home, the texts and phone calls got less. I don't think I've hung out with them in the last 2.5 years. And if I text, it takes a couple days now to get a text back, or so it's a different relationship now. And at first
Sure.
there was some grieving because I was like, well, that was my friend. What happened? And it's a loss. But you know what? That was for that season. And in this
True.
season, that relationship boundary is just different. And I don't feel any type of way.
Right.
I still have, positive emotional feelings for the person and support
Sure.
them. And I'm happy, all the things, but your circle just changes. And that's
Well, I
okay as
think
well.
it is, and I believe that so much has happened since the pandemic, and people have just all different types of situations and emotions, and so sometimes depending on how people deal with situations, it could make some of the space that's there. Because I'm the type of person that if I'm really working through something, I get kind of quiet, because I'm just all right. I'm figuring it out. I can get quiet and even fall off the grid for a little bit. I work to be consistent. That was something that I would do, and I wouldn't even tell anybody. Be like, I just don't want to talk right now.
I've been
But
there too.
yeah, yeah. So I know people are still dealing with a lot of things, and then now with we don't know what's going on with the whole Russia Ukraine thing. And then if I'm in the news because I need to know, but I can't like digest it like all day every day.
It's a lot. It's a
It
lot.
is a lot. It absolutely is. It absolutely is a lot. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Woosah. But yeah, the world of work is just it's a whole world unto itself, and those relationships within the world of work and how they're changing now and shifting. And especially with you mentioned earlier about being like the CEO, thinking like a CEO when you work, and it brought
Sure.
up for me the concept of being an intrapreneur. So often people talk about being an entrepreneur where you have your own business and you're the boss of your own side hustle and your own business. But you can also be an intrapreneur, meaning you have a 9 to 5 job, you work for someone else, but you function as if you're working for yourself. And oftentimes that leads to promotions and relationships and opportunities because when you work for yourself, you tend to work, a little bit more diligently. Sometimes you put a lot of effort in, you have more ownership and responsibility for what you are doing. And that shows to people around you in the workplace. So being an entrepreneur is just as powerful as being an entrepreneur as well. That was what sort of came up for me that I wanted to just throw in there.
I think, and you know what, that's great, because I was just listening to what you're saying, and this is really a good time if you do work for someone to just find out how much can you learn in your area, what you're doing, how much can you learn about it, how much can you learn from the day to day, and then from the people around you, whether it be it, in the office or out of the office, because of course we still have some people use Teams or Outlook to send emails, so it's still a good time to glean. I'm setting myself up right now for to learn a lot for my next life, my next stage of life. I am working to get as much as I can learn, and to grab things and put them under my belt. And that really should be that should be our objective. And I know it's not with everyone because we all come from different places. But it takes some practice and it takes some skill to deal with difficult and challenging people, because but there is a way to get the job done even with all of that. That has to be our objective, because like Michelle said, you can't be messing with my coins.
No, not my coins. And the other thing is, you can't take everything personal. Like you were saying, you don't know what the other person's going through.
It's
Not
true.
taking it personal. And then also, what I learned for the first, I don't, I'm showing my age here, but for the first 25 years of my working life, I started working when I was 12. But oftentimes that first like 3/4 of my work life, I was learning what not to do and how not to treat people. And that's just as powerful as learning what to do and how to treat
True.
people. So I knew exactly what type of manager I wanted to be before I got into management, because
Yep.
I had seen such poor leadership. I was like, oh, I'm never doing that to people. And you also have empathy because you've experienced what it's like on the other end. So you can always learn something no matter what the circumstance is presenting itself as. There's always something to learn, and there's always something that you can take for your good into your future from what you're going through now.
It's so true, because there is an area of expertise or specialty in everything that we do. Um, you can find something. There's always that part that interests you. Okay, can you? Here comes the career coach in me. But what part of my assignment can I grab a hold to and embellish it? How can I be creative with it? For instance, with me being a career coach, and once the pandemic hit, um, I would have trainees who we placed like on the job training situations. So when everybody was they had to stay home, I had to be creative to to find ways to still get them the job readiness and those types of skills, career development skills. And I would do presentations and add YouTube clips to them, and because I didn't want it to just to keep talking until it sounded like wah wah wah, but just and I did some very creative little videos along. I had fun, and people were totally engaged, and that's what you want. Like, how can you make it work for you? And I think that will help a person too, even if you're in um, a work situation and you're just there, because you can get just there, but while you're working on your transition and
While you're waiting.
while you're waiting, and we're all waiting for something, uh, grab the part that you can work and just make it work for you. And people see that they see your efforts. um, they can see that when you're working on something and your energy is coming through there, they can see it. So we just have to find ways and be creative with a lot of stuff, because again, we are all waiting for something and we can't control what's going on right now. So you really
But you
just
can
have.
control you, and you can control your choices and your behavior.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true. And and then I always say, we need each other, whether it's at work, whatever relationship, we need each other. Now, everybody may not feel like that because everybody didn't come from the same background that the same background that you did, or vice versa. So we really have to stay true to you. I think that's the biggest thing. Stay true to you, and then learn to brush it off. I mean, sometimes things are said and done, and I may have a moment, an internal moment, and I'm like, okay, and then we keep it moving. So it's to be able to transition quickly. Because most
Yep.
of the time, and we've talked about this before, a lot of times when people are disgruntled and they come at you with venom, it's really because they don't like themselves, or they don't like the way that they are, or the situation that they're in, but it's something that they need to work through within them. It's really not personal. It normally is not personal. It's normally they're looking at they're looking at you, and if you're cheerful all the time and you have a certain way about you, you come in and you get it done every day. You don't get involved. I think some people were even surprised with me as a career coach because I never went into individual feelings, or it didn't matter how I felt about you. It didn't matter that, you just made me want to choke you. If you needed me, I was there for you. It doesn't matter. And I don't hold grudges. So however you felt, talk to me, and after I said to you, okay, I don't do the you can't swear. That's not going to work for me in conversation. And then I move on, and then the other thing is it's how you say it to people. Your tone, your voice, your pitch is so important because you can either set people off, or you can calm them down. Now, I have to say, out of my whole customer service career, I've only had one guy who just let me have it. But I was working for Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. I had other people like curse me out, hang up on me, but they called me back and apologize. And some of it was because, if you've ever called some of the automated systems, by the time you bounce around, you're already aggravated. So by the time this guy got me, he was like, you and the company, blah, blah, blah. He left,
Not about you at all.
It wasn't. So yeah, it's a lot, but a lot of times we have to think about it and like, okay, how can I respond to this, or what's the best way to handle this?
Yeah, I used to make it a game when I was on the phones in customer service, and I was in insurance and I was in auto claims. So oftentimes I was telling people no, and we're not going to pay you, or we're not going to pay you what you think we're going to pay you. And people were not happy, and it was all over the country, and people would just become irate and all the things. And so I used to make it a game to get the person to either laugh or apologize by the end of the call. And that was how I dealt with it. I didn't take it personal, and it was sort of like a game. And I always had the person either laughing or apologizing by the end of the phone call because they could see themselves. So it was almost like a mirror to themselves. And they're like, why am I behaving this way? This person has nothing to do with nothing. So let me check myself. And I got to tell you, if you're listening to the replay, if you're listening live, I hope you have a notebook out because Brian has been dropping some gems. There have been so many strategies on how to deal with workplace relationships that has come out during this conversation. I mean, if you don't have notes, I say re-listen because there have been some gems that have been dropped that will enhance your work life, enhance yourself. This has been such a great conversation.
Yeah, it's just because, that at work is a big part of our life.
Huge.
And the other thing is we can't turn off and turn on our emotions. So if we make it a part of us, we don't have to say, oh, okay, here's a situation. I need to act like this. No, it needs to happen with you by yourself at home behind the closed doors. And then it becomes a part of you. Because that off and on thing, you're going to get caught somewhere. Somewhere you're not going to get That's not going to work. That's and I think also understanding what is my objective here? Why am I here? I'm determined to get my job done. Whatever I'm supposed to do, get it done. And we're not even dealing with it is what it is. We're not going to deal with the dumb stuff like staying out of the work gossip and
never a good thing to get involved in that. And even if you don't like what you do, you're there and there's a reason to be grateful, and especially in this economy, for that paycheck that comes on a regular basis or contractual basis or whatever kind of job it is. So gratitude goes a long way as well. And employers also see the attitude. I know with my job, it's not so much anymore, but it used to be very difficult to get fired. If you showed up and smiled and tried and had a good positive attitude, they would work with you because they can train skill, but you can't train work ethic and attitude.
That's so true. And it's like that a lot of places. They would prefer to deal with someone that's teachable, pliable, agreeable, than to be disgruntled and come in like you're coming in to change things. And honestly, power tripping today, unless you're getting paid to power trip, like an attorney position or a judge or that type of thing, yeah, you can stick
Put the ego down. Put the ego down. put the
Yeah.
pride down.
Yeah.
You ain't that powerful. And if you
Yeah.
are that powerful, you'll notice the people who go higher up get more and more humble because they
That is so
recognize
true.
they don't do it by themselves. It's the team. And it's very rare that you're doing something by yourself. You need, like you mentioned earlier, we need each other. And
We do.
yeah, it
We
makes a
don't
difference.
have to agree. We don't have to agree. We're not going to agree on everything. You may have it could be an opinion, it could be a culture, it could be a belief, but we don't have to agree. And I keep saying that because it's just okay. It doesn't matter what your religion is. And I've worked with different religions, people who believed in God, people who didn't believe in God. Okay, all right. Well, this is our assignment. So I don't. We don't. They, and I'm the kind of person I'll ask them about their religion. And then I also a lot of times do comparative religions. So I had some. I won't call out their religion, but even on my caseload, and I said, "Are you doing da 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 right now?" And it was like, "What you know about that?" I'm like, "I don't know stuff."
And that's
So
a point of connection. That's a point of connection that breaks down barriers and helps you work
exactly.
more effectively. Yeah.
And they're guys too. So they in their religion, it's more male dominated. So it gave them some. They felt good about themselves, like oh okay. So I believe even leaving where I'm at now, I I told somebody, including my director, I said I believe I've given the best of me to. I've given it, and I've given everything. Honest to God, I've given everything I know uh, to assist people with getting back into the workplace. So a lot of times too, uh, even how we deal with people, it's your mindset. Like you got
Hmm.
to get your head straight around situations, around there's no perfect world, and you may love where you work, and you could just have a day that's very challenging, but even in that we learn how to conquer. So it really is it's your perception or how you see things, how we view things. um and yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think also just to throw this in there is that we have to remember that how we respond and show up impacts other people as well.
That's true.
So always remember that how you apply your work ethic or not, how you show up attitude wise, how you show up, it matters because it impacts other people, especially in
True.
the workplace.
And be knowledgeable. Like honestly, learn. That's why I said learn everything. I believe my director gave me such high accolades when I went to see him to resign, to give him my resignation. And yeah, because I want to know. I want to be in the know. I want to do it. And then if they give me creativity or flexibility or both, I'm going to say, okay, how can I make this work? They gave me room. And matter of fact, one of the words he used was independent. And I actually
Mm.
have a team of colleagues. Um, I was here if they needed me, but I'll just say this. If you have a think tank, and I said this to my director too. I said, I want to do my job. I'm not good with the whole moaning session where everything is wrong, and I'm like, okay, but we could fix it. What's the solution? So
Yeah, be
now
solution
that's something
focused.
I just think our time is too valuable to yeah.
Yeah.
That was a part of what I did that I was like, okay, because come on already, come on already. My brain's already doing like this, like, okay, I got stuff to do. So, but anyway, I want to be productive. But yeah,
This was so good. This was so good because your work really does influence so much of our lives, especially as adults, and how you do and how you say things matters just as much as what you do and how you show up. So this has been so good. Again, I'm telling you, re-listen, get a piece of paper because there have been some gems of wisdom dropped that will enhance your life while you wait for your next opportunity, if that's what you're looking for or whatever you're waiting for. This has been so good. Like I've taken some notes and I'm gonna be like, oh, that's really good. There's some strategies in there. There's some mindset, perspective shifts, and it really does make a difference for you and for others. So yeah, this was so
and
good.
honestly, everything that was said can work in every area of your life that you have to deal with people, whether it's your family, whether you have teams outside of work. team building, and it's something that we really should study more because it will cause us all to be more effective in what it is that we do. Got to play nice in the sandbox.
Yes, every relationship will show itself in the sandbox. So learn how. That's a good book title, actually. Play nice in the sandbox.
Play nice in the sandbox.
But it really
You
does.
right.
What a great way to round out relationship month too, because you know your relationships are really what makes the quality of your life if you think about it. So
It's true. And there's challenges and with your family. I think one of the greatest things. And now my family, when I tell you they can hold a grudge, they can hold a grudge until Jesus comes. Now I've never been that way. That's and it could be because of how I was raised outside of my family. But I mean, they can hold a grudge, and I let it go. I can let it go. You know, and I've matured too because before I could let it go, but I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. But it's just huge because even with family relationships, sometimes it's so important. Like we come from the same blood, and I know things happen, but I think you should at least, if possible, have a conversation, if at all possible, or just make certain that you're clear on the inside. If you can come back together, you do. If not, you can love from a distance. I mean,
but don't burn that bridge because you never know when you got to walk over it again or when you're going to meet that person again. Family, work, any type of relationship. And so leaving with your integrity intact is key, and communication is such a big part of that.
Yeah, I see that a lot where people do things and they never think they're going to need you again, whether it be family, work. Like you should never, you don't know where your next blessing or your next, I'm a door opener. You never know when your next door is going to be opened by whomever. You may think somebody is not worth anything, or it could be a bum. It could be a homeless person. Like everybody deserves to be treated with integrity because you don't know. You have no idea. And then sometimes you might think somebody's a bum and they're not. They could be super wealthy. And it's just, I don't know what they were doing that day, but you just, you see movies where, you just cursed out the person in the cab, and then they get in the elevator, and then you go to your interview, and it's the CEO who you got to get interviewed with. You have lost it.
Yep. Right then and there.
You have lost it. You've lost it. So yeah, we got to play nice in the sandbox. So we're gonna wrap it up. I want to just give a shout out to Dr. Nathaniel Dunlap of PRF Institute. He does credit, savings, debt, legacy planning, living wills. You can go to prfinstitute.com to get more information. And please
.org.
Is it? Wait, I have it.
But he'll get you straight. He'll get your legacy straight. He'll get your generational wealth straight. Dr. Dunlap will get you straight. No matter what situation you're coming from, he will be able to enlighten the path for you to walk to get to generational wealth and get to whatever goal it is that you have for your life. He is.
You are correct.
Yep. .org. Yeah.
You are correct. It's .org. Dunlap. Well, this is the other one. Dunlap at prfinstitute.org. A great guy. And if you have questions, everybody, if you don't have life insurance, and this is not a life insurance, he's not a life insurance person per se, but if you don't have a life insurance right now or a plan for tomorrow, we all at every age, if you're 25, you need to be thinking about tomorrow and how you can build, because time, I promise you, time goes by like this.
And it doesn't cost that much. Term life insurance does not cost that much.
But anyway,
Dr. Dunlap, isn't he coming back on the show too?
He's coming on March the 10th.
Okay.
He'll be back March 10th. And then next Thursday, which is March the 3rd, Courtney Wolf will be coming on, and she'll be talking about time management. And that's a big thing of mine. I'm always thinking, like, especially people who, one person I'm so interested, Bishop Bernard Jordan, like I so want to just ask him, what does your day look like? I'm just so curious. I'm so curious. The worst that
can happen is he won't answer. You should ask him.
You know what? I sent the message, but I don't know if he handles his own, but I did because I was so curious between prayer and his studies. I think he's working on his doctorates, and Then he has his own media stuff. I'm just like, how do you
And he's on Clubhouse too. He was on Clubhouse, I think, last night.
Yeah, yeah. So Courtney's going to come on and talk about time management. I believe she has 4 children, and her story is amazing. And she actually just started her own business as well. If you have a dream or an idea, she can assist you with threshing that out. And I think people that do that, it's absolutely amazing. So you want to be on next week, which is March 3rd, 4:30 p.m. We'll be right back here on While We Wait, because we're all waiting for something. And I hope you enjoyed today. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed today. Just another conversation to make you think while you're waiting, because we're all waiting for something. Thank you so much for everyone that showed up. Sandra, I want to thank you for being there. Oh, yes. And we want to talk about, just briefly, we're going to put it out there. We don't have a date yet, but that next workshop with Michelle will be coming up soon. Michelle, I have another person who's interested in getting the Zoom recording from the first workshop, Understanding the Mindset of Financial Success. If anyone is interested in getting the recording for the first workshop, you can inbox me. You can reach out to Michelle.
SuccessfulDiligence.com. Go to the contact tab and send me an email, and I will get that right out to you. It is $25 for the replay. The workshop that's coming up, though, I'm so excited about it. I'm actually talking with a specialist to help me present, because what I want to do is bring resources and equip everyone who's interested in bettering their life and tapping into accessing abundance and wealth. And that's not just money, but just for your life. Money does come, but you have to prepare for where you want to go and become who you need to be able to receive that which belongs to you, to walk into it. So I want to bring the experts and the people of expertise that I'm coming in contact with to bring this knowledge and information to you all. So I am going to have a guest speaker on the next one along with me to enhance the access for you all. So I'm super, super excited about it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So if you didn't get the first workshop, reach out to, if you remember, Successful Diligence, or you can reach out to me. I'll get you the information. If you just can't remember, we'll make it happen for you, and just stay tuned for the next workshop. If you're interested in building your life at any age, your wealth and understanding the mindset. Yeah. And it's crazy.
When I tell you overflow, you don't have to be where you are. You can go to where you can dream. And it's possible for you no matter where you're starting. So I just encourage you to tap in.
I encourage you to. Because I've had my first one-on-one. Matter of fact, tomorrow's my second one-on-one. I am super hyped. But my whole mindset has changed about wealth and about money. And I see the benefits already. So guys, ride with me. Listen, I'm certain by June, I'll be able to tell you a few things that have happened for me, or it is happening. But we kind of have June as a little stopping point, just to look back and see, okay, where are we?
The first goal post.
Yes. So come for those that came to the first workshop, come and get this second brick for the abundance.
The second brick, building this house of abundance. And it's incredible when you don't know what you don't know, and then you get access and the door opens and you're like, oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Wow. It's incredible. So just tap in. I just encourage you to tap in.
It's not just having money. It's having that understanding. That's incredible. So anyway, I can get on a whole nother tangent right here. So we'll wait until next time. Meet us back here next Thursday, 4:30 p.m. on While We Wait.
Wise. I live hand with my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live hand my life. I stay strong. I stay wise. I live hand my life. While we wait.
That was so good. You brought